Hey guys, it is Carly here bringing you episode number 13 of my entire horror movie collection. Just gonna go ahead and get right back into this. Like I said, I'm trying to just keep on going along and making these videos while I have the time off. So I left off in the H section of the Blu-rays last time, and to start off we have Hostel 2 here. I actually don't own Hostel Part 1. I think I picked this up at a Cash and Culture. Just, they do the thing where if you buy 3 movies, you get $2 off, I believe, on all your movies, and I just needed a third movie to pick up, so grabbed Hostel 2, still don't own Part 1 or Part 3, honestly, but, Part 2, I actually enjoy. I know a lot of people don't like this one as much as the first one, but I actually enjoy it, and arguably I might like it a little bit more than the first one, although it's been a while since I've watched the first movie. I definitely have to buy that one and give it a rewatch, but I do enjoy Part 2. I just like the characters and find the, story to be pretty interesting for what it is. I'm not a huge fan of torture movies to begin with, but I don't think the Hostel movies are all that bad. Next up, we have The House's October Bill. I think I got this in the horror pack, and I was pretty excited to get this one because this is a movie that I had always been interested in checking out and didn't watch back when it came out. I know it's always on Netflix, but it's just one that I always kind of passed up. So finally got to watch it, and I really, really enjoyed what's going on in this movie. It almost feels pretty realistic because you have these people going to these haunted house attractions, and I just think it's a pretty cool idea for, a sort of found footage story, and, great for Halloween time as well. After that, we have I Spit on Your Grave, the remake here. I believe I actually watched this one before the original because I could never find the original anywhere in stores, and this one was always pretty readily available, so I picked it up and gave it a watch, and I actually really enjoyed this movie. This and the original are the type of, classic original and remake where I actually kind of like them both equally in a way, just for different reasons. I feel the remake is much more brutal with the revenge aspects, which I really like because it makes it pay off, and I really enjoy the remake, and I like the original as well, which I believe I own that one on DVD. After that, we have Insidious Chapter 2. Picked this one up recently during a second spin sale, and picked it up because, for one thing, I already own Part 1 and Part 3. I needed Part 2 to kind of fill that gap, and also Part 2 is one that I saw with friends a few years ago back in high school, and I wasn't really paying much attention to it, and I've always heard people say this one is pretty solid, so I wanted to give it a rewatch because I didn't feel I'd ever actually really seen it in a way, and gotta say, I really enjoyed Part 2. I thought it was, just as creepy as Part 1, and in general, I think this is a pretty solid franchise. After that, we have Jennifer's Body. Recently reviewed this one on Body Bags, I believe, and I really like Jennifer's Body. I compared it very much to Ginger Snaps. Ginger Snaps is definitely a better film in a way, but still really enjoyed Jennifer's Body. It's kind of a high school themed horror movie, and nowadays I don't really get into those that much, but I feel like this one does a pretty solid job, and it is rated R, so they could do a little bit more with it, but I found it to be pretty fun and entertaining. Then we have Joyride. I got this one in horror pack as well. I already own it on DVD, but I think I since have passed that DVD copy on to my mom, I'm pretty sure, and Joyride, this is one of my favorite thriller/horror movies of all time, honestly. I just think it's a lot of fun. When I was younger, it's one that I used to rewatch quite a bit. It was always on TV, and I just really liked watching it. It's one that me and my dad would always kind of put on and watch together, and, it's got some great comedy moments in it as well that still hold up today, and it's just a very fun movie. It also has some terrifying moments to it, so definitely one of my favorites. Then we have Killer Pinata. I got this one in horror pack as well. This was one of the exclusives, number 11, and I thought this movie was going to suck because I'm not that into horror comedies or movies that are just overly ridiculous for the sake of being ridiculous, where you know that they know what they were doing. But I actually found this one to be a lot of fun and actually pretty humorous at times. So definitely a fun one if you're into movies like this, and even if you aren't, because like I just said, I'm not really a fan of these overly silly horror movies. I mean, come on, it's a killer piñata, but I found this to be pretty enjoyable. Then we have Land of the Dead. Picked this one up to, you know, just kind of finish off the Dead franchise, or whatever you want to call it, you know, George Romero's movies. And I gotta say, I don't remember this one a whole lot. I'm not a huge fan of zombie movies to begin with. I'm sure I've said that before, but I like George Romero's first 3 Dead movies, and I had to kind of complete that collection. And yeah, I don't remember this one a whole lot. I'll probably give it a rewatch eventually one day, but not anytime soon, because zombie movies just aren't my favorite. I know a lot of people say that this one's not good at first, but then it kind of grows on you, so I'll just have to see about that. After that, we have Last House on the Left. I actually just watched this Blu-ray last night, and I got this one in the Horror Pack 2. You know, I already own it on DVD, but I was excited to have it on Blu-ray because I've been curious to recheck it out to see how I feel about it now. When I first watched it, I was kind of, you know, iffy on it, but upon rewatch, I gotta say the soundtrack in it, score, whatever you want to call it, is just kind of ridiculous. It feels very porno-ish, and you know, you also have some of the comedic moments going on in it that just don't really sit well, and I gotta say, I just do not care for this movie all that much. I feel like it could have been much better, and there's definitely better rape revenge type of movies out there, but I realize it is a classic film, and what it's done for the genre, for being, you know, of the time, it was very not something people were used to, so I do respect it for that aspect, but I do feel there are better movies out there than this one. After that, we have Lazarus Effect, another one that I recently watched. Another Horror Pack movie. Seems like a lot of Horror Pack movies are showing up in this collection here, but anyway, Lazarus Effect, I put it on, and this is one that I've always kind of avoided. I always see it's on Netflix all the time as well, and it's just not one that I ever was in a hurry to put on, just because the cover and concept didn't seem like something I was going to be all that into, but I know a lot of people have kind of spoken highly of this one. I gotta say, I didn't care for it all that much. It was kind of entertaining if you're into movies like this, but it just wasn't really for me. I just found it to be kind of, I could take it or leave it, so that's kind of how I feel about that. At least I finally checked it out. After that, we have Let Me In. I really enjoy Let Me In. I saw Let the Right One In first, and I know everyone is all about Let the Right One In, but when I watched Let the Right One In, I did the mistake of watching it dubbed instead of subtitled. Stupid of me, I know, and by watching it like that, the dubbing was kind of atrocious, so I didn't care for the movie as much as I could have, even though I really liked it, and I picked up this remake just because I was curious about it. It is very much the same movie, with just maybe just a slight bit less in a way, because there's like one detail really that they leave out that's kind of important to the original story, but I gotta say, as of now, I really enjoy Let Me In a little bit more than Let the Right One In, but that's honestly just because I made that stupid mistake of watching the other one dubbed. But Let Me In, great movie either way, you know, great American remake. Then we have Lords of Salem. I mentioned in my last collection video that this is actually one of the first Blu-rays that I picked up. It is a steelbook. You know, JP recommended this one to me when he was out with me looking for the first Blu-rays that I should get, and he said I should pick this one up, and it's pretty cool that it is a steelbook. And Lords of Salem, I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. I remember when I first watched it, it's definitely a slower burn type of movie, but I don't really remember exactly how I felt about it. I can't remember full details about the movie. It's definitely one I'm curious to rewatch again soon, because I know some people don't like this one, some people love it. It's kind of hit or miss, and when I watched it, I liked it quite a bit, so I do want to give this one another watch to see how I really feel about it. After that, we have Lost Boys: The Tribe. I believe this is the first sequel to the Lost Boys, and got this one in horror pack as well. I actually enjoyed this. I thought it was a pretty fun, solid movie. You know, obviously not as good as the first movie, but, you know, I thought it was a pretty cool follow-up either way, or, you know, not really follow-up, it kind of goes with its own little story in a way, but I found it to be a pretty fun movie in general. After that, we have Maggie. This is another one that I had, you know, kind of passed up. I think this came out in 2015 or so, and I wasn't really hardcore collecting or keeping up with the newer movies back then, so I didn't get to this one, but I was always kind of curious about it, and I thought it was pretty solid, kind of a zombie drama type of film. Like I said earlier, I don't really like zombie movies, but this one is done very differently, and it's got some emotional aspects to it, and I tend to like emotional stuff going on in horror movies. I seem to be a pretty big horror/drama fan, I've come to find, so I thought this was pretty solid, pretty original for a zombie film. Then we have Maniac. I remember I picked this one up at Barnes & Noble. I think I had a gift card, and I figured, you know, I wasn't really into reading back then, so why not pick up a pretty cool Blu-ray, and, you know, this is a Blue Underground, so Maniac is also a movie that I hadn't seen at the time, so I wanted to give it a watch, and I think this is just a fantastic movie. It's got some great effects in it, and I just love the story. I think it still holds up today. I like the remake just as much as the original. I would say they're probably equal in my mind, and yeah, just a great movie. Definitely one I'll go back to again and again. Then we have Midnight Movie. Forget where I got this one from, but I was curious on it because it's one of those ones where I believe the killer comes out of the movie and comes into real life, and I always find stories like that to be kind of interesting, where you're kind of breaking the wall and, you know, people are either stuck in a movie or vice versa, so I find that concept to be pretty interesting, and I found this movie to be pretty fun as well. I remember definitely one that I would like to rewatch as well, because I found it to be a pretty solid movie. Then we have Morningside Monster here. Did this one, a review of this one on one of the Horror Pack, unofficial Horror Pack podcast episodes, and I believe, yeah, this is one that I thought was pretty solid. You know, definitely low budgety, but it definitely did good with the story and made you care about the characters, and there were some pretty interesting characters in it. I don't remember it a whole lot, but I remember thinking it was pretty solid for what it was. After that, we have My Bloody Valentine, the remake here. I actually like this quite a bit, you know. The original My Bloody Valentine is one that I am not as high on as other people. It's one that I haven't watched a whole lot either, to be honest, so it's one that will definitely grow on me over time, but I thought the remake was pretty fun as well. Maybe not the best remake ever, but I think it's pretty decent, honestly. I think I would rate it like a 7 or 7.5, so not a bad movie if you just think of it as a kind of standalone movie and not compare it to the original. After that, we have My Soul to Take. I remember being very disappointed in this the first time I saw it when it first came out. I forget when this came out. I'm thinking it was the late 2000s because I was still pretty young at the time, but I thought it was going to be great just based on the trailer I can remember back then, and when I watched it, I forget if I watched it in theaters or if I rented it or what, but I just did not care for it too much. I rewatched it recently because, you know, I know Andrew Schroyer is really into this from the Woods Verbos podcast. This is one of his favorite horror movies ever. I believe he even gives it a 10 out of 10, and I wanted to see if it was as bad as I remembered, and I gotta say, it's definitely not as bad as I thought it was. It is another case where it could maybe grow on you as you rewatch it. Would I say it's a 10 out of 10? Definitely not. I think I rated it maybe a 7-ish for this one, but it's not that bad, honestly. I can't even pinpoint what it is that I don't like about it, but there is definitely stuff that it doesn't have much rewatchability to me, we'll put it that way. So I think it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but overall not as bad as I originally thought, but not a 10 either, kind of average to above average. Then lastly for this part, guys, this feels loose in the case, and it is. Let's fix that. Alright, so Near Dark here. Don't know how that got loose, but Near Dark. I saw this for the first time in the drive-in, the first time I went to the all-night drive-in that I often speak about, and it was the last movie playing, and we were all pretty tired, but I remember it was a very good setting for it because, you know, it was late at night, or early morning rather. It was probably like 4 a.m. by the time this movie wrapped up, and I thought it was a pretty solid setting to watch this movie. I also didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it though at the time because it was raining out the entire night, unfortunately, so wanted to pick this one up and rewatch it, and I really enjoyed this. It's been about definitely a few months since I actually watched it, but upon watching it and actually paying attention, I found it to be very enjoyable, and it's got some very beautiful shots going on in it, and yeah, I really enjoyed Near Dark. The only problem I have with it is there is some cheesiness, especially towards the end, but overall a solid vampire film. So yeah, that is it for this part, guys. Part number 13. Thank you for joining me for all these parts, and I will see you with part number 14.